everyone, today I wanted to talk about grief. So grief has personally struck me lately, so I want to share this not for reasons of, I don't need anyone's pity, I don't need anyone's anything for this, but I did want to share it because I think it is some of these feelings and some of this complexity surrounding grief is having to do with being an adoptee, and I think it's a little bit unique. So the reason why I'm grieving, and I have been grieving for the last couple weeks, is I've had some recurrent pregnancy loss, meaning multiple miscarriages basically. And miscarriage is certainly not a unique thing. It happens way more than people ever talk about. And it's some crazy stat, like 1 in 4 pregnancies or 1 in 5 or something like that. So end in miscarriage of different levels of development. This is my 4th miscarriage total. So the grieving process is really unique and for everyone and for even the same person. This is my 4th miscarriage, and this was different for a number of reasons. It was the latest, so my other miscarriages were pretty early. This one was a little bit later. So it was different in the sense that it was already confirmed via ultrasound. So I'd already seen it on ultrasound at 7 weeks, and then I saw it again at the last appointment there, where it was identified that the embryo had stopped growing and stopped living. So to see it on ultrasound is obviously different, and I think makes it harder, or it certainly made it harder for me. I can't speak for anyone else, but it's been a real process. And I think that, I wanted to talk about grief as an adoptee. Grieving a thing like a pregnancy, that was certainly a wanted pregnancy. I want more children. And so it's been a little bit different this time. It's not to say that the other times were like a walk in the park, because they weren't, but I think it was much further along. There were a couple of factors that I probably did honestly to myself that made it a little bit more complicated. Unknowing at the time. We had already ordered Christmas cards back at, right after Thanksgiving. I'd been ready to share with friends and family and stuff. So we had ordered them, and then we lost the pregnancy. And so we have a batch of Christmas cards here that have, a picture of my kids holding a healthy ultrasound, all that kind of stuff. So, that was kind of self-inflicted, I guess, added what turns out to be the heartache that was probably unnecessary. And I probably maybe got ahead of myself because I had already gotten so far, much further along. And historically, if I'd gotten that far in the pregnancy, it was, for me, historically, it had been okay. And it's not to say, obviously I know you're not out of the woods, ever. Obviously people have pregnancy loss at the end of the pregnancy. So you're never guaranteed anything. And I know that, but so that was, that was tough. We had to order new, Christmas cards that, they look exactly the same, but they are not signed with baby, and our last name, and the back doesn't have a picture of my kids holding a sonogram picture. So I'm grieving, and it's been a process, and I think it's funny, I actually had planned on making a video about grief before this had all happened, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how that kind of ties in here. It's not to do with pregnancy. My original video plan was actually addressing a YouTube channel that has been brought to my attention by my YouTube analytics. I wasn't really aware of the channel otherwise, but I had seen on the discovery whatever tab that says basically says what videos or how people are finding your videos or whatever. And there's another channel that comes up, and it's a family that adopted a young boy from Korea, and the whole, I don't want to say the channel name or anything, because I don't want to attack anybody, because this is not the intent for this video, but I do want to make this video as a level of awareness for adoptive families, I guess, who may be tempted or may want to share their adoption journeys, I guess for the benefit of other adoptive families, I'm guessing. So basically this channel, their videos are literally like titled so-and-so's however many month or whatever grieving update, or grieving update, I think it is. It's just like kind of sick, like in a lot of ways. And I was like shocked that came up on my YouTube analytics, because I had never done anything on grieving or anything like that. Like, I'm sure it's linked because I'm a Korean adoptee and this child was adopted from Korea. So I did click on some of the videos just out of curiosity, like, what does this even look like? And it's the adoptive parents, in a way, like complaining about their adopted child. Like, this is a young child, I would guess under 2 years, obviously having a hard time adjusting, and sounds like has some behavioral, things to be addressed, and has a little bit of aggression. It's just, I don't know. And I've already done a video on like family vlogging and all of that, and like and I know I've gotten like messages about how wrong I am about that and whatever. And it's like, obviously just my opinion. This whole channel, like whatever, is my opinion. So take it or leave it. It is what it is. I'm not I'm not trying to make anybody feel or act or believe a certain thing, but I'm just saying from my experience as an adoptee, this is my take on this, and I think it's really wrong. And I wonder if maybe this is the wrong time for me to make this video, because I think I'm a little bit obviously going through my own stuff, but I also, like I said, I had already had this planned to kind of talk about on here before this had happened, before I had miscarried and, had started this grieving process of my own. But yeah, so the videos on this channel are basically giving a play-by-play of this child's adjustment process into the family, being an adoptee, being the only adopted person in that family. And you know what's the worst part about these videos? Like, hands down, I think the adoptive parents can be or say or do whatever they're gonna do, but the worst part is honestly the comments section. So it's just crazy. So I had to stop reading. They're just so infuriating. So the comment section is always filled with people praising the adoptive parents, like left, right, and center, like just saying that child, so lucky to have you as a family, and so lucky, you're wonderful parents, and this and that, and like it's just basically a praise festival for the parents. And I'm not saying they're not good people, I have no idea, but that same comment section is also, this is like the super twisted stuff, comments like you need to think about your other children, like you need to maybe you should think about terminating the adoption, or maybe this just wasn't the right fit, or yeah, like just all about like comforting and reassuring the adoptive parents and how they're doing such a wonderful job, and it's basically blaming the adoptee for that child's behavior and the aggression toward the other family members, and how it should not be tolerated and they need to protect themselves. Oh my gosh. So it's just crazy. So I grew up in a family of 4 adopted children, and one of my siblings was very aggressive, like very, very aggressive, like toward like us, toward his siblings, and like certainly my parents and other adults. And and that is scary, and I get that, and that's difficult for everyone. I think that my parents did the best they could to manage the situation, and it was not being talked about, and like my siblings' details were not being disclosed as to like how poorly the behavior was, or how aggressive, the behavior was, or whatever. And basically for like people's entertainment. And it's all under the guise of an adoptive family making these updates in this grieving process update, adjustment process for their adopted child. And all is under the guise of helping other adoptive families. And I'm sorry, that's not a good enough reason. I don't know. I mean, there is no benefit here for the adoptee. And like, I think these people need to think in the future, 10, 20, 30 years from now, when this child is full grown and is his own person. I think grief is such a difficult thing. And like, obviously this kid needs support and reassurance and needs some help, and I don't think that the answer there is to like advertise it all over the internet, all for views and all for whatever, for entertainment. And then it's like, how would he feel going through the comments section of these videos where basically strangers are saying like, that child doesn't deserve you as a mom, and like, you're just so wonderful, and like he doesn't know how good he has it, and like how does that play out? Like, I guess we are in the infancy of these family vlogging situations where the children are so young, without consent, their stories are being used for entertainment purposes, and these are real kids, these are real people. And I think that the internet is a really harsh place. Like adults, people like me, I'm consenting to do this video, put myself in my perspective on the internet, and I'm well aware of the situation. So it's just very different. Like, I think that kids this age, kids that are going through stuff, like grieving process for me right now, it's related, but it's unrelated to adoption. So I think that grieving an unsuccessful pregnancy for me has stirred up a lot of kind of adoptee specific feelings. So obviously it's the loss of a child and the loss of like everything you had imagined for that child and how it was going to fit into how he or she was going to fit into your family. But I guess like more than that, like it brings out, I don't know how to explain it. Like it brings out the enormity of that is pregnancy. It's everything. I mean, it's resilient, but it's fleeting and fragile, and it's, everything to some, but, not meant to be for, others, or it just doesn't happen for others. And I think, I mean, all of my pregnancy losses, but I think this one in particular, because like I said, I'd seen the ultrasounds, I'd seen the baby alive and the little, embryo moving and had a heartbeat and heard the heartbeat and all that kind of stuff. And then to see it on the screen looks like a baby, like looks like a true ultrasound baby picture, and to see it not moving, and like where there was a heartbeat last time, there's not. So my mom was never able to have like biological children, and they adopted 4 kids, and never experienced pregnancy or like delivery or just having that bond with your newborn and all of those special things that come with it. And it's really sad because it's obviously something she wanted. And it makes me think of my birth mother and how she had healthy pregnancies, and she had 3 living children and got pregnant with me, and having to make those decisions. Like, I mean, obviously she chose not to terminate a healthy pregnancy, which I'm very grateful for, but to also carry a child for 9-10 months, that's a huge physical sacrifice. It's a huge emotional sacrifice. And so pregnancy, the grieving process for me has been really rough this time around. And I've taken, and it's I feel like pregnancy loss is kind of a lonely path anyway, because it's not something I'm really like, we're not sharing with a ton of people, because what's the point now, so I have a couple of my best friends and stuff, they know, but otherwise, we ordered new Christmas cards, and we're not really sharing with our family, and our kids don't know. So even though they were holding the sonogram picture, and like they don't, it was like a family photo shoot kind of thing that we did at home during COVID. So we just did it like literally with a tripod and stuff, and like they don't know what they were holding. They were just waiting to get their candies or whatever, whatever they were being bribed for to like sit for that photo. So they really, luckily we had not yet told them, because I think that's harder to explain, and I think it's harder to talk about. So if my 5-year-old knew about it, she would I don't know, maybe bring it up at random times when I'm like not like mentally prepared to talk about it. And obviously, like, I would rather not, be super emotional in front of my kids if I can avoid it. So, but back to this little boy. I just think the grieving process is such a personal, such a private thing. And I think that this is probably the biggest grieving, one of the biggest grief events in an adoptee's life is probably transitioning. Like this child's old enough, like he seems to be about my son's age, my son is 2, so my son might be a little bit older, but he's obviously has language, is able to communicate, and he's walking and talking. So he's older than, I was 9 months, so older than some, younger than some. So he has some, I would guess, memories and some awareness of his past life, and then he's all of a sudden thrown into this brand new everything. And now all of his behavioral adjustments and behavioral his emotions and all this stuff is being shared, like, without his knowing, without his consent. And I think it's going to be, even if it's not as big of a deal right now because he has no awareness of it, I think the comment section of these sections of these types of videos, of these types of family vlogging situations, are really, really not healthy. I don't think that they don't contribute anything worthwhile to the adoptee's life. I think adoptive parents need to really put themselves in this family situation. They're subscribed to, they're supporting these channels that are probably interesting to them because they are obviously have this common bond. If you're an adoptive family, you're watching an adoptive family, I get it. And I get wanting to have that connection and having that similarity. But would you want your child's business to be put out there for the world to judge, in which they are judging? And they're definitely pretty harsh on the adopted child. And in this situation, it's all about praising the parents from what I saw. And like I said, I could not even read anymore. They were just horrific, like some of the comments. So, and from an adult adoptee perspective, my gosh, if this were me, like if this were people on the internet talking about me and my behavior and my inability to adjust to that situation and how I should be so grateful, and like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can't even imagine that. So I think that adoptive families, I just hope that people are really aware of that what they put on the internet now is forever. And if it's not to your child's best interest, then I guess the people just have to weigh their priorities for this type of thing. So that's my 2 cents on that. I think grief is so complex and so different, person to person, situation to situation, and even like the same person in the same situation with slightly altered variables is just proven to be very complicated. So, I think of my birth mother. How could she, the heartache that making that kind of decision, I can't even imagine that situation. And for how disappointing this is for me, I'm very aware of how people, we have friends, very close friends who had a very difficult fertility journey. And that's I've never experienced that, so I can't imagine. So as difficult as this is for me, this is nothing compared to a lot of other people's situations with this topic. So I am very, very grateful, and for many reasons, even with this pregnancy loss, I am grateful that it happened the way it did, I guess, even though it's a little bit later than the other ones. It had, it obviously had given us hope that this was going to be a normal pregnancy, but I'm also very grateful that it didn't progress to a point where decisions had to be made that no one wants to have to make. So, yeah, I do believe things happen for a reason, and I think that obviously my body knew, or the pregnancy knew that something wasn't quite right, but it doesn't make it any less sad. So I don't know when that stopped, but So one of the reasons why I haven't been on YouTube like at all, because of all this going on, yes, but also I'm like, I don't, like the things I watch on YouTube are generally pretty upbeat and pretty just nonsensical and just kind of for true entertainment purposes and just fun, whatever, like stuff. And I'm very aware like my channel is kind of a downer, and I just, I don't, we're usually talking about kind of more serious topics and all that kind of stuff, and I also don't want to be something that I'm not. So I'm not saying I'm a downer in like real life all the time, but I think that, like I said, my reason for making this channel and for talking about these topics is because this is near and dear to my heart. This is something that is a little bit therapeutic for me even to talk about, because it's not like I'm just talking about adoption in my everyday life, or some of these adoptee specific perspectives are not really coming up at social gatherings. So, but I don't want to be a downer on the internet. I do want to just share my perspective whenever I feel inclined to, and I hope that other people in my situation or other people who have some tie to adoption can take something from it, or just for entertainment purposes, that's okay too. So anyway, thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I hope to kind of resume regular kind of posting again. I think I'm more in a position to more in a place to share than I have been. And take care, and I'll see you in my next video.